It's dusk on a Saturday. I'm out walking. There's a man unsteady on his feet with a long, curled handle umbrella. He's holding it up to his shoulder like a machine gun, staring down the barrel and swiveling abruptly, a jungle commando, pausing to catch his image in the scratched plexiglass window of the bodega. A small boy wanders out of the store and stands a few feet away watching. The man pivots slowly, beginning to grunt and growl before he comes around to face the boy. The boy pulls his arms around himself and waits to see where this is going. So do I. The man hunkers down and grunts his way towards the boy, the umbrella gun carefully aimed. I'm weighing my slightness against the man's new equilibrium, in case. Then something invisible passes between them and the tension breaks. The boy giggles and runs behind a tree, peeking out. The man pulls a 40-ounce out of a pocket and sits down on the bodega steps. The evening begins. In the projects, people are milling around, winding up to the things that come later. There's a butter-colored Cadillac parked out front. The door rests open, and the song on the radio drifts out into the air. A man sits in the car with his feet on the curb. He's wearing one of those old man caps and seems old enough to have earned it. He sings past the volume of the radio, his voice fluid, with just a little gravel in it. I smile at him, and he tips his hat. "That's right, baby," he says, meets up with the song again on a high trailing note. A few blocks away, a man is leaning back against the side of his sedan, one arm stretched out above the door as though the car were his best girl. There's a mambo playing, and all around, the men are lifting beers swaddled in brown paper and shimmying in place, their heads thrown back with pleasure. Now he reaches into his pocket and scatters a handful of bright pennies in the empty street. A few small children rush over at the sound of the fallen coins, squatting to gather them. He watches with pride at what he has caused. The other men keep dancing in place as the song changes key. When full darkness settles in, the corner boys are practicing footwork with invisible basketballs pivoting around each other. One takes a jump shot and his gaze follows it up to the shining moon. "Yo," he says, "is the moon a planet?" He's looking at the smallest of the boys, the wiry one who must be the answer man among them. Answer man says, "The moon's name is Maria." There's a girl, I haven't seen her since midsummer. Now she steps out her front door. Something has changed. She has grown into herself. She stretches and yawns and takes her time, settling down to sit on the top step. She tips her head one way and then the other. She is utterly self-contained, not fidgeting, not posing, not waiting. After a while, the boys come slowly out of the dark, one by one. They sit at her feet and ignore each other. She gives the street an idle scan. Minutes pass. Nobody says a word. The world is beautiful, and I am not quite in it. I walk back home through the projects. There are flashing lights all around, ambulances and idling rigs. The firemen lumber under the weight of their gear. People on corners are spreading the news. Something has happened, and these are the artifacts left behind by the thing that has happened. EMTs lean around an empty gurney on a pathway. Whatever went wrong has been taken away. In the middle of the courtyard lawn, one man in flannel pajamas and a do-rag stands and counts a handful of change. And then I'm jumping ahead just a bit. I get home from work late in the evening and the whole neighborhood is out on the street. Carlina is down in the corner in a bathing suit and shorts, her waist like the curve of a guitar. She's fanning herself with a newspaper and talking to Julio, a short guy who watches over the corner. He's got a big belly and incongruous handlebar mustache. He's always smiling, but I don't buy it at all. Now there's music playing softly from someone's open window. Julio and Carlina wave at me as I stand in the doorway shuffling through the mail. There's an envelope that doesn't belong here. It's to Hombre Cinco, and it isn't my address. I look closer. It's dirty, the stamp is years out of date, the canceling marks are illegible now, there's no way to know when it was mailed. It must have been rescued from the dungeon of a dead letter office. I should give it back to the postman, but I don't. The address on the envelope isn't far away, a few blocks down by the canal. but it's just off the industrial street where the whores walk at night. I go upstairs and look out the back window at the red moon rising over the decaying water tower. By the time I get out the door the next day, Julio's already watching the corner, under cover of the burnt-out store's fiberglass awning. "Hello, Mommy," he calls out. "You go to work?" "Just a walk," I tell him. I don't like to linger with Julio. He starts asking questions. Who is my boyfriend, and do I need any help around the house? I hurry down the street that fronts the canal. The whores have gone home and it's empty now. There's only broken glass and the leftover stench of the garbage trucks. The address I'm looking for is on a stub of a street, half a block long, cut short by the canal, and a yellow diamond sign that says simply, "End." There's a sofa near the drooping fence that borders the canal. A man rises from it and staggers up to me. "Look at that face. I'm gonna marry you. I'm gonna buy you a house. I'm gonna get a job. Go back to school, okay?" "Okay," I say, backing away from the sour stink of him. There's no one else around. Even Julio is too far away to help me. The man keeps walking, muttering to himself. He lurches away toward the empty park. When he's out of sight, I turn back to the little street. One side is the solid wall of a warehouse, casement windows behind cast iron cages. The other side has 3 little townhouses with ugly siding. Dirty white, hospital green, mud brown. I count the house numbers. Where a 4th would be at the end of the street is an empty lot. That's the one I'm looking for. I go down and grab the big steel lock that binds the gates with a rusty chain, rattle it a little, hoping it might give. It holds fast. The lot is narrow and deep. The pavement is going to seed as grass and weeds push up through the cracked blacktop. Ivy snakes through the links of the cyclone fence and into the razor wire that crowns it. There's a great sprawling paulownia tree shading the back, and smaller ones pushing up all around the edges, growing out of the paltry, toxic dirt. Those trees grow fast, but still, the lot must have been vacant for decades. Maybe that's all there is to it. I keep the letter in my pocket and head for the post office. My fingers graze its surface, feeling the grit collected in its limbo years. The line is long and slow. There's a man up near the front of the impatient crowd, rocking a sleeping baby back and forth in a cheap stroller. He's got the blackest hair and his skin is rosy brown. Finally, it's his turn, and there's something a little frightened in the way he approaches the window. He's holding out a tissuey paper, a carbon of some kind of official form. His words are soft and incomplete as he says to the clerk, "I need a photocopy. Can I do here?" She shakes her head. "No?" he asks. He's still a little hopeful. "I cannot do that here." The clerk waves him away. He turns the stroller around and wheels it slowly toward the door. He's looking at the paper in his hand. He's navigating strange territory. Things don't work the way they work at home. He's almost at the door when a fat woman steps out of the line, clucking her tongue at the whole situation. "Over there," she tells him, pointing out the window. "Across the street at the Arab store, they do it." She pats him on the arm. "Just across the street, honey." I would swear he's about to cry. The moment is frozen. I'm still 6 or 7 people from the clerk's window. I touch the letter in my pocket. I step out of line. I'm keeping a secret I meant to turn loose. I hurry toward the door just in time to hold it open for the man in his stroller. Up close, I see it's not tears he's holding back, it's rage. The letter stays in my bag all day at work. At night in my kitchen, I stare at the stove. It would be so simple, but a little steam and suddenly you're a felon. I'm not sure yet. I slide the envelope between 2 fingers and feel the edges of something less pliable than the worn paper. It's a rectangle with rounded edges, thicker and smaller than a folded letter, a photograph. My phone rings, and I pin the envelope onto the fridge with a tiny magnet, adding it to the haphazard collage of scraps and postcards. It works the wrong way. I always forget. Display a thing, and it becomes invisible.